Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the Joe Pometto Law Show. Most of the time, we take a look at sovereign citizens and auditors and other doofuses getting arrested, and we analyze that from a legal perspective. Today, I want to talk about a Supreme Court case that happened to change the law in a significant way when it comes to the First Amendment, when it comes to auditors, and when it comes to individuals like auditors and sovereign citizens having the ability to sue the police. Welcome to the show. Before we get into the article, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. If you like my content, that gives me positive feedback. It gives me a higher ranking in YouTube and helps me to create more content. Also, if you enjoy, please make a free donation at my Patreon below to the Joe Pometto Law Show. But remember, this will always remain free. I have that on there because if I can make some money, it gives me some free time to make more content. So let's take a look at this article. Now, this is at a Slate, fairly left-wing publication, but they have some good stuff. It says here, the Supreme Court just made it easier for police to arrest you for filming them. And what they talk about here is a court case that just came down in May called Nieves v. Bartlett. I'll read a quick sentence here. In Nieves v. Bartlett, a divided court ruled that individuals can't sue police officers for retaliatory arrest if those officers had probable cause to arrest them for any crime, no matter how minor. So, before this lawsuit came down, there was something called a 1983 claim, okay? 1983 is the number of a statute passed by the United States Congress, which allows people to sue the police for constitutional violations. So if a police officer violates your constitutional rights in one way or another, you can sue them. And, to give you an example, if you're out there, you're protesting legally in a legal place to protest, the police come along, boom, slam handcuffs on you, throw you in jail, and they make up some reason that they arrested you, well, you can still file a lawsuit against them and say, look, that reason that they arrested me is BS. They said I had drugs, or I was loitering, or I was jaywalking. That's BS. Okay, I want to sue you. And the 1983 statute allows individuals to sue the police on that basis. Okay, and the police would have to defend that case and possibly take it to a trial in order to beat it. You let a jury or a judge decide if there is liability. 1983 statute is important because you can't normally just sue the government or government entities. And this applies, we call it, it's actually called sovereign immunity. But municipal immunity or governmental immunity is sort of the more plain way to say that. And what that means is, you can't sue the government unless the government has specifically passed laws that allow you to sue them. And 1983 is one of those statutes. It allows individuals to sue the police for constitutional violations. Well, this recent decision, Nieves v. Bartlett, has altered the landscape when it comes to 1983 claims. So, like it says here, in other words, if you are jaywalking in violation of a local ordinance, officers can arrest you without fear of liability, even if they're making the arrest only because you're participating in a Black Lives Matter demonstration or wearing a Make America Great Again cap. And I got to give Slate a little credit here for using a liberal and a conservative example. So, back to the scenario that I told you before. Let's say you're out there. Let's say you're protesting a new tax hike, okay, in your local city, and the police come by and boom, they slap the cuffs on you, throw you in jail, and they say, and you say, what did I do, officer? And they say, oh, you were loitering. Well, what this new Supreme Court decision does is says if the police can arrest you for any sort of law violation, it protects them absolutely from any lawsuits. So where it used to be that if the police arrested you for loitering, but you were protesting and you know that's the real reason was the protesting, you could sue the police and then the jury would decide, okay, what the real reason was. Now, and you used to be able to say, well, look, they're saying that that I was loitering, all right, but they really arrested me for protesting. What this decision does is it pushes the pendulum in the other way, where if the police can prove that you were doing any type of violation, it doesn't even matter if the cop said, oh, I'm actually arresting you also because you're protesting. Okay, if they can prove any legal violation that they arrested you for, they are completely safe from a lawsuit. So, the way the law was prior, if you were arrested in that scenario, you could file that case, you could take it to trial, let a jury decide. Okay. Now, however, the government is going to have a way to shield police from lawsuits, because if the police can find any sort of pretext to arrest you under any legal violation, let's say you were jaywalking or you were loitering, or who knows, you were doing like a minor trespass, but you were at a Make America Great Again rally, and that's the real reason they wanted to round you up. All right, if they round you up for that and then write you up for loitering, you can't bring the lawsuit against them, or it's about 100 times harder to do that. So this new decision sort of shifts. It provides an extra shield of protection for the police whenever they're enacting arrests. When it comes to probably when it comes to sovereign citizens or auditors who are out there just searching for a lawsuit, it gives the police a lot more leeway to arrest that individual if they can find any probable cause or reasonable suspicion to do so. It's going to be a lot harder for those individuals who are out there videotaping the police. If the police grab you and say, oh, you're loitering, oh, you're committing a minor trespass, oh, you were jaywalking while you were doing it, that's going to help them defeat any civil lawsuit that you would have brought. Whereas prior to this decision, it would have been a much easier path for the plaintiff to win that case at trial. So this should have a lot of interesting effects. Remember, a Supreme Court case, the law now applies to all 50 states, anywhere in the United States. This is now the law. So I would imagine we're going to see a drop in lawsuits taken by attorneys filed against law enforcement. Now, some people may say, there's two sides to this. Well, maybe a lot of the frivolous cases will be thrown out now. Where people were actually committing crimes and then wanted to file a lawsuit because they got arrested for committing a crime. Well, this may cut down on those types of frivolous lawsuits. At the same time, it may have a chilling effect on free speech, protesting, or the recording of the police, because it's going to be much easier now for the police to go after you, arrest you, and you're going to have a little bit less recourse to sue them. One interesting part about this decision is you can see down here, it says the only silver lining in all this is that the court did create an exception to its harsh new rule. Even if police have probable cause to arrest, a plaintiff can still prevail by showing that the police typically exercise discretion not to make arrests in similar circumstances. So that's important. If it's a scenario where, let's say you're out there protesting and they see you jaywalking and they grab you and they throw you in jail and you want to sue them and they say, oh, you were jaywalking, now you can't sue us. Well, here's the thing. If they typically don't make arrests for jaywalking in that area, all right, then you can beat that presumption, that protection that the police have. So it doesn't necessarily, that exception there may carve out a little bit of a way for people to bring lawsuits against the police. And maybe after all, this law doesn't curb the tide one way or another too much. But overall, it is going to make it a little bit more difficult for people to sue law enforcement. And when it comes to troublemakers out there, interfering with the police or interfering with investigations or crimes or arrests, they're going to be on a bit thinner ice going forward, and they're not going to have the retaliation to bring a lawsuit. And in that case, I think this is a good law. However, there are instances where the police overstep their bounds, and they must have some sort of liability and accountability. So I hope that this law doesn't encroach on, serious offenses where the police really go too far in exercising their power. But I do think it'll help cut down on some of the minor ones. So I hope you found this video interesting. I like to throw a little law in. This is going to affect a lot of the auditors that we see online. And what they do now, if they end up arrested, the police are going to be able to, again, throw a citation at them and protect themselves from a lawsuit. So these auditors are really going to have to be careful, sovereign citizens too, whenever they're out there messing around with the police. In case anybody's interested, this article is on Slate. Supreme Court just made it easier for police to arrest you for filming them, by Brian Frazzelli. I'll put the full link in the description. You can also check out Nieves v. Bartlett. If you like the show, subscribe, comment, like, and share. Drop me a dime on Patreon. Remember, this show will always remain free, but donations help me to spend time making content for you. Let's do a quick sip. I forgot to do a sip at the beginning. Today is Gatorade. I'm still a little sick, so I'm drinking carbohydrate drinks. Adios, my friends.